Tip number 1, at stops, put your left foot down. Okay, listen up. This is a big one, and it's something a ton of riders, not just the shorter folks, totally mess up. When you're coming to a stop, putting both feet down might feel super secure. It's like saying, yeah, I've got this bike handled. But here's the problem. It actually makes balancing trickier, especially if you're riding something tall. So here's what you do. When you stop, leave your left foot down and keep your right foot covering the rear brake. Why? Because keeping that rear brake engaged keeps the bike from rolling. Plus, it lets you lean the bike slightly to the left in a super controlled way without feeling like it's about to tip over. In those safety courses, you know, the ones where you spent all afternoon in a parking lot trying not to look like a newborn deer, they probably had you stop with both feet down. But if you're short or your bike's tall, sometimes your feet barely touch. Leaning it left makes life so much easier. And if you're worried about the bike getting too heavy to hold, don't stress. Unless you're doing some wild stunts, it's never going to lean far enough to be unmanageable. Quick pro tip. When you're slowing down, shift through your gears, pull in the clutch, and gently apply both brakes. As you come to a stop, angle your handlebars slightly left and lean your head that way. It'll naturally shift the bike's weight toward your left foot. Then just ease your foot down and boom. Stable as a rock. When it's time to go again, slowly let out the clutch, give it some gas, and gently feather that rear brake to steady the back wheel. You don't need much brake pressure. If it makes you nervous, you can skip it. But with practice, you'll nail this move. Find an empty parking lot, spend an hour on it. You'll look like a pro at every stoplight in no time. Tip number 2, don't rush to lower your suspension. Now this one might ruffle a few feathers, but I'm saying it anyway. Unless you really have to, don't mess with your suspension height. I get it. Tall bikes are intimidating. And yeah, lowering links are a thing people swear by, especially on dual sports, supermotos, and adventure bikes where you basically need a stepladder to get on. But here's what nobody tells you. Lowering your rear suspension alone totally jacks up your bike's geometry. It makes your fork angle shallower, drops your ground clearance, and shifts weight to the back. That messes with how the bike handles, even if you're not out carving canyon roads. And yeah, preload adjustments and damping tweaks can help fine-tune handling, but those are minor. Lowering links change everything. A better alternative. Before you go messing with your suspension, try this. Add some weight to the back. Toss some saddlebags or toolkits on there. Even a few extra pounds can squat the rear end just enough to make a difference. Sure, it might look a little goofy, but your bike's handling stays intact and it won't cost you a fortune. Or better yet, swap your stock seat for a reach seat. These lower the seat height by about 3/4 of an inch, and that tiny change makes a huge difference. Less foam, firmer padding, but still way comfier than lowering your bike and dealing with handling issues. Tip number 3, mount your motorcycle like a pro. All right, let's talk about something super basic that nobody teaches you, but it makes a world of difference when your bike's seat feels like it's a mile high. Mounting your motorcycle. Most people hop on from the left, up the kickstand side, which makes sense since it's a little lower that way. But if you've got short legs or you're dealing with a tall bike loaded with bags, it can feel like you're trying to mount a horse bareback in the middle of a crowded Starbucks parking lot. So here's a trick. Get on from the right side. I know, sounds weird, feels weird the first few times, but hear me out. You can actually use the foot peg as a step to give yourself some extra height. How to do it? Put your right foot on the right side foot peg, grab the handlebar and maybe the rear rack or seat if you got one, and swing your left leg over. As long as your kickstand's solid and your bike's on level ground, it'll hold you. Even my budget foot pegs on the Supermoto can handle my full weight, and trust me, I'm not light. Is it awkward at first? Yup. Will you look like a confused cowboy the first time you try it? Probably, but practice in a quiet parking lot, and before long, it'll feel totally natural. And here's the bonus. Using the peg to mount makes it easier to keep your bike balanced and upright. No more kneeing the back of the seat or losing your balance trying to hop on like you're in the Olympics. Tip number 4, walk your bike, don't wrestle it. Okay, next up, and I cannot stress this enough, Don't be afraid to walk your motorcycle. I know riding it everywhere looks cooler, but sometimes it's just not worth the risk. Like when you're trying to back into a parking space on a hill or thread your way through a crowded lot. Instead of awkwardly paddling your feet while half balancing a 450-pound machine, hop off and push it where it needs to go. Put it in neutral, keep your hand on the front brake, and steer it like a shopping cart. It's safer, it's easier, and it saves you from the embarrassment of tipping over in front of that group of Harley dudes pretending not to watch. Bonus move, the kickstand pivot. If you've never done a kickstand pivot turn, you're missing out. Here's the deal. Lean your bike onto the kickstand, then lift the front or rear wheel and spin the bike around. You can turn it in tight spaces without doing a 12-point Austin Powers move. Now, quick disclaimer, not every bike can handle this. Big cruisers and heavy tours? Probably not. But most naked bikes, dual sports, ADVs, and standards can. Straight kickstands work best for this. If yours is all bent and sketchy, might be time for an upgrade. Tip number 5, crash protection. Because everyone drops their bike. And here's some harsh truth, everyone drops their bike. Sometimes moving them around the garage, sometimes in parking lots. No shame in it, it happens. The problem is, replacing parts gets expensive fast. Bar ends, levers, mirrors, case covers. It adds up. So do yourself a favor and slap some crash protection on your ride. What to get? Frame sliders, axle sliders, case covers. Track riders prefer short frame sliders so the bike doesn't flip if it slides out. But for street use, longer ones are totally fine. They make stuff for almost everything out there. And if your bike's a little quirky or custom, chances are someone's still got something that fits. Protect your bike, protect your wallet. Tip number 6, pick the right bike. It's not just about seat height. All right, here's a little advice nobody wants to hear, but sometimes you've got to accept reality. Some bikes just aren't meant for everybody, and that's okay. If you've tried all the tricks, lower seat, preload adjustment, extra weight in the back, mounting from the right, crash protection, and you still feel like you're wrestling a rodeo bull every time you stop at a light, maybe it's time to pick a different motorcycle. And no, I'm not saying you have to settle for a tiny Grom, unless you want to, because Groms are hilariously fun. There are tons of bikes out there with solid power, great handling, and reasonable seat heights. Some excellent options. Ducati Scrambler, lightweight, peppy, and a seat height you don't need a ladder for. Yamaha MT-07, one of the most beginner-friendly middleweights around. Plenty of torque, low seat, super fun. Indian Scout, if you're into cruisers, this one's got a killer engine and a seat you'll easily flat foot. Triumph Bonneville lineup, classics with modern tech and super manageable seat heights. Honda Rebel 1100, yeah, it's technically a cruiser, but it's got legit power, DCT if you want it, and it's surprisingly nimble. Even some 600cc sport bikes can be made workable with a lower seat and a preload tweak. Don't let anyone tell you you're stuck with a Ninja 400 forever. Bottom line, find a bike that fits you. You'll be more confident, safer, and you'll actually enjoy riding it, which is kind of the whole point. That's it for this one, folks. If you found this helpful, hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and drop a comment with your best short rider hack, or just let me know what bike you ride and how you make it work.